Hi Trumedians, we wanted to give a quick heads up that though this episode is lighthearted and fun, it does contain topics that may trigger some of our listeners, including miscarriage, postpartum depression, and graphic depiction of labor and delivery.
You want to talk about it? I'd rather laugh about it. Let's get a little dark about it on The Traumedy Show. Welcome to The Traumedy Show. I'm your co-host, Rachel Wilford.
And I'm your other co-host, Megan Wilford.
And today we are welcoming our special guest, one of our favorite people ever, Taylor.
Woo! Taylor!
Woo-hoo!
Chug, 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 chug. Chug your cold brew.
So Taylor is my best friend from college. So we've known each other for almost 7 years now.
Almost 8.
Almost 8 years now. Yeah,
we age us.
We were transfer students to San Diego State, and on our very first day of the worst class of all time, Econ 101.
That I immediately dropped.
With Wilford. His first name was Wilford, which is so random. And then he really took a liking to me because of that. Which sucked.
Unfortunately for you.
He was like sending me creepy emails and stuff. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
He was sending me creepy emails, and then he would like find me in class. This dude was super racist too, and like terrible.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, he was like very misogynistic. He was saying racist things in class to students. So he was really bad. And now I just said his first and last name on this podcast, so.
That's what you get.
Your kink is karma.
He was old. He might not be with us anymore anyways, so.
Maybe he's not, and God rest his soul. But yeah, the first day of class, it was this big lecture hall. It was like a pretty big class.
Yes.
I just happened to sit next to you, and we didn't speak to each other the whole class until the very end. You turned to me. I think you turned to me and asked,
I think I did.
Did you get the book for this class? And I said, no, did you? And you said, no, I didn't. And then you looked at me and you were like, do you want to exchange numbers? And I said, yes, I most certainly do. And then we exchanged numbers.
You want to exchange numbers? It's so cute. I remember going home, and Josiah was my boyfriend at the time. He's my husband now. And I told him, and I was like, I think I made a friend. And he was like, are you going to text her? And then like we contemplated, and we literally talked for so long to craft a text to you about how to ask you to go get a drink.
That's so freaking cute. Girlfriend crushes are like,
so
honestly,
girlhood.
it's so much purer and cuter than actual like romantic crushes, honestly. I get way more nervous to like text a new girl that I met.
Oh yeah.
I feel like not now, but back then, yeah, I was like really excited when you texted me too. And then you literally transferred out of the class the next day.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I'm dropping this. I didn't even qualify to take the class. I didn't realize that I didn't have the prereq, whatever the math was for it. And so I had to drop it. And thank God I did.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Sorry that you suffered.
You escaped. But yeah, I remember walking on campus the next day and I got this text and it's like, hey, this is Taylor from Econ. Funny story, I'm actually dropping this class. But if you ever want to go get like a drink sometime, I was like, yeah.
And then we went to
that's so cute.
The cider place. I don't remember. It was like the pizza place.
Yeah, it was a pizza place on campus.
Yeah.
We got cider.
They had gluten-free pizza, so.
Yeah. And the rest is history.
Here we are.
Here we are. Because like a couple months later, you had like the people that you were going with to this Chippendales.
Oh yes.
event.
It was like Thunder Down Under.
Yeah. In San Diego, you had an extra ticket, and so you invited me. And the person that you were with was handing me drinks all night, and I didn't realize that they were doubles. And I actually blacked out within 30 minutes of this Chippendales.
Oh my gosh. I just remember taking a drink from your hand at one point and just throwing it in the trash can full. It was like a vodka cranberry that was like 20 ounces, I feel like. It was like a huge pint glass drink or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just grabbed it from Rachel's hand and threw it into the trash can and was like, you're not drinking anything else.
No.
And the other girl we were with, I don't remember.
I had just turned 21. Like I was 6 months.
And so you had just had your first drink.
I was just having my first experience.
Introed.
Yeah.
And the other girl like threw up in the venue. So we actually like were asked to leave.
Oh my God.
So we left. And then I remember just like Rachel was sick all night. And the next day the wolf texted me and he was like, the one good thing he ever did, right? He was like, please go check on her. Like she's not okay. And I think he was mad at me because he thought that like I was the one getting you drunky.
Oh.
But I just like, I got like Tums.
Well, because you dropped me off in the morning. I remember waking up on the couch at the house that we slept at. And you were already like, I don't know what it was. You just like felt me be awake or something. And you dropped me off and I go to my little tiny room and I laid in my bed in the dark all day long. I couldn't move. I had to crawl to the bathroom. I lived down the street from a hospital and I was like, I can't drive. I am still drunk. I cannot drive myself, but I might have to crawl myself to the hospital. I've never felt so horrible in my whole life. I was vomiting all day. And finally, when you got there at like 5 p.m., I had been in bed for like almost 12 hours already at that point, not moving in the dark. I couldn't look at my phone. I couldn't do anything. When you got there, I think that's when I looked in the mirror and realized that like I had thrown up so much that I popped a blood vessel in my eye. And so my eye looked crazy and disgusting.
I don't mean to laugh at you.
And this is why you don't drink anymore.
This is why I'm sober. 8 years sober.
That's the funny part.
Yeah.
I just remember feeding you broth at one point or like some type of soup or I bought you some type of...
Well, so you had me take Tums.
Yes.
And then you made me chicken noodle soup.
Chicken noodle soup.
Sweet, and you came and delivered it to me in bed.
Yes.
And then you ate it. And then I promptly puked pink. I puked pink all over my bed. My one safe haven.
Your one clean set of sheets.
So then we had to wash all of my sheets.
I could have given you an IV.
Yeah.
But I did not have the supplies.
Well, because now Taylor is a nurse.
I am now.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, when I was at San Diego State, I was actually majoring in accounting. Mm-hmm. We all laughed together.
Accounting? Yes. Because you're so good at online shopping.
You could have been the man in finance.
I was going to be the man in finance, and instead I am now not.
The woman in STEM. Well, wait, no, health.
I am still.
Is it?
It is STEM. It is science, my friend. I do have a bachelor's in science. Okay.
Woman in STEM.
I am still a woman in STEM.
I need to shut up with my little marketing degree.
You are the first to be laid off.
Business degree.
Business marketing.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I was trying to give it to you. Thank you.
We're all smart.
Yeah. So now you work in hospice.
I do.
Talk a little bit about what that means.
So I am a hospice nurse. I go around. I do mostly home care. Mm-hmm. And I, do assessments on patients and help them with pain control and end-of-life visits. And it's a lot of emotional support for families.
Taylor's our resident.
I've got lots of trauma.
Friend group. Whenever we have some sort of ailment, we're like, hey, can you look at this? So what do I do?
Yes. Consult me before beginning any medication.
She looked at me because I've been really constipated this entire weekend because I took some dumb diuretic.
She took a colon cleanse, friends. Let me tell you, the get rid of your belly bloat colon cleanses, they're a sham. Don't do them. They're just going to make you pee out all your water and then you'll be dehydrated.
Yep.
The first time I ever got a hemorrhoid, I texted you. My very first one. I was like, Taylor, my butthole. I'm in pain. What is it?
Did you text her a picture?
No, I didn't send you a picture, but I texted you and I told you my little symptoms.
Yes, she gave me her symptom list and I gave her get some preparation H, and that was before I ever got my first hemorrhoid.
Really?
Yeah.
I beat you to it?
Oh, yes, you beat me to it. I didn't get my first hemorrhoids until childbirth.
Wow. Well, I beat you to it then as well. I only had the one.
And that was that was enough.
And that's a story
for another time.
That's another story of my Beverly butthole surgery.
Beverly Hills butthole surgery.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Meg, doing things so you don't have to.
Meg's cosmetic corner.
Yes. She'll review it just for you.
Oh, God. Yeah. That is another time.
Okay, but speaking of childbirth, what do you want to talk about first?
Well,
where do you want to go? Taylor's going to talk about motherhood and childbirth and 2 under 2 and all sorts of things.
All the things. First, I just want to preface with I am going to share my experiences, and this might not be anyone else's experience. And I am not claiming to be an expert on anything, parenting, childbirth, pregnancy. But I have, a lot of experiences that I think I've learned a little bit about. And so I'm just going to share what I know. And if you don't like it, then don't fucking listen. Facts. And what I
know better than you. I'm a better parent.
Yes. And it's just like, nobody knows what the fuck they're doing when it comes to parenting. Everyone is surviving. That is what I've learned. Never say never as a parent. And everyone is just surviving. But my parenting journey, the journey it is, it really began when I still lived in California. And my husband and I, we got married June of 2021.
Yeah.
So not that long ago, but we were together for 7 years beforehand. So we didn't want to wait to have babies because we waited to get married.
Yeah.
And so we decided to try for a baby, and we got pregnant the first month that we tried. And I remember I was just so excited. I did the whole, I told him I was pregnant by putting the pregnancy test and a little onesie. It said, "Hello, Daddy, I'll see you soon," on a breakfast tray. And I made him breakfast and I brought it to him in bed. And he was so excited, but he also was like, "Oh shit." I thought this was supposed to take 6 months. Because we were going to try, and I was like, it might take a while. Nope. Did not.
Knocked it out of the park.
Yes.
Turns out you're the most fertile people on the planet.
It turns out. Well, fast forward a few weeks, and I mean, I'm excited, but I wasn't having that many symptoms, and I kind of felt like something was off, and I kind of felt like, it wasn't I don't know. I knew something was wrong. And one night I was having a lot of cramps, which is normal for a trimester. And I went to the bathroom, and there was just blood in the toilet. And I don't really remember. I kind of blacked out. But Josiah said that I let out a whale. That was a keening, I was oh no, but oh no, I don't know.
Yeah.
He said it was the saddest noise he ever heard. And then I was we have to go to the hospital. Because in my mind, one, I had never had a miscarriage before. I'd never been pregnant before. So I was they need to save the baby kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really how it works. When you're that early, when things go south, they just go south.
So many weeks?
I was 6.5, almost 7 weeks, I think.
Okay.
Which is very early.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people don't even find out they're pregnant until they're 8 weeks along.
Yeah.
I am just a tester as early as possible kind of girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we went to the hospital. They did an ultrasound, which was very traumatic because it was very painful because I was bleeding. And then also the ultrasound tech was not very compassionate. She was just well, you're early. It doesn't really matter if you are or not. It doesn't count. She's it's just she's well, it's just a clump of cells at this point, kind of thing. And I was okay, no, this is my baby, and I've already got hopes and dreams for this kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if anybody knows me, they know that I am a love with my whole heart. I put everything I have into it. Right when I fall in love quickly. I am very passionate, and I am very I have very overwhelming feelings, we'll say. I love out loud. So I already love this baby.
That's one of the best things about you.
I enjoy it. I think Josiah enjoys it. But then sometimes my husband's a very stoic man.
Yeah.
So we're very opposite. But yeah, so we went home. They told us basically they did blood work, and they were there's not really anything we can do for you, but sorry, you just have to wait and see, because I stopped bleeding. So then
they weren't able to tell if it actually...
No, because it was so early, they couldn't even really see anything with the ultrasound yet.
Got it.
They saw that there was a sac in there, but they couldn't tell if there was a baby or not. So basically we went home. I got blood work done with my doctor, and it sucked because I stopped bleeding, so I had more hope.
Yeah.
And then she called me when I was in nursing school at the time, and I had just taken an exam and we were on a break, and she called me and was like, I'm so sorry to tell you this like this way, but you're going to lose this baby. And like it's a definite, like I knew in my heart that there wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
So I left my nursing school class and I went home and I was just devastated.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day I had my clinicals, which is where you go to the hospital and you work a shift as a nursing student. And at my program, you cannot miss a single clinical. Like they schedule you for just enough hours for like licensure. Yeah. So like you can't miss, I can't call out or be sick or anything. So I went, and my clinical instructor, he was like this very like young, like athletic, handsome, single guy with no children, and like not really someone that you want to be like, hey, I'm going through a rough time, because he's just like,
you wouldn't get it.
No, and like he's not like, I don't know, like I wasn't close with him. He was just a clinical instructor. Like, I don't know you and I don't want to talk to some man about this.
Yeah.
But I had to like take him aside, and then I of course am crying, and I cry all the time, but I don't really like crying in front of people I don't know. So I don't even look at him, and I tell him like, hey, I'm pregnant. Because like people don't even, I think some people knew I was pregnant, because let's be honest, like I can't keep my mouth shut. I yap about it.
Certified yapper.
Yes. But so I told him like, hey, like I am actually like losing my baby. I'm going to be having a miscarriage anytime now. Like we're just waiting on it, kind of thing. And he was like, I'm so sorry. Like, if you could just stay till 5 p.m. So he needed me to stay until 5 p.m. Mm-hmm. It's 7 a.m. So it's not like, can you just stay a couple hours? He's like, if you can make it to 5 p.m., then cut out a couple hours early and skip the lecture portion of clinical. And like, he's like, and I'll just mark you down for the hours. And that was really nice of him, because he didn't have to do that. He could have been like,
sorry,
suck it up,
yeah,
like, or whatever. So somehow I made it to 5 p.m. I left, and I at 5 p.m. started bleeding. Mm-hmm. And so it's like my body just kind of like knew. And I remember being on the way home, and Sabrina called me, because I had texted her, because Sabrina has a kid. She has a baby at this point, and so like I felt like kind of like she really understood, if that makes sense. Totally. And I had also been texting you guys, and so everyone just kind of knew the situation. But she called me, and we just like sobbed together on the phone. And it was just like this feeling of like your body is failing you. And even though, and I think that this is a very common feeling for women who go through miscarriage, mm-hmm. is that like, why wasn't I a good home? Or like, maybe I did something wrong. Like, oh, like 3 weeks ago I did Flonase, or like, you know, I took a Tylenol or something, mm-hmm. which is things
pushed
that
my body too hard. I didn't sleep enough.
Or I didn't drink enough water, or some bullshit that you have no control over it. And what my midwife had told me after all of this was that most miscarriages in the first trimester occur because of like chromosomal defects. So there's something wrong with the baby like developing in your body, and the baby like know it, and then they don't like attach correctly to, and you know what, this, if somebody's like a science nerd about miscarriages, mm-hmm. sorry if I'm wrong, but this is what my midwife told me. Mm-hmm. Basically like there's nothing you could have done. Yeah. And so there's no reason. Yeah. Except for the fact that maybe there's like a chromosomal defect, which the baby would not have survived anyways, kind of thing. Yeah. So when my midwife told me that later, it really took a lot of like the guilt feeling off of me.
Your body was probably doing what it needed to do.
It did, because, you know, I don't want my baby to suffer also. Sure. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of like God's way or nature's way. For me, it's God of, you know, mercy, mm-hmm. and being like, you know what, there's a better plan in place. I had to go to the hospital for that miscarriage because I bled a lot and it was really painful, which at 6.5 weeks, they told me it was just going to be like a period. It was not. I had contractions.
Whoa.
which I didn't know that's what that was at the time because I'd never been through anything like that.
Yeah.
And there were some nurses at the ER that when I went in that were so compassionate and so empathetic, and they were great. And then the doctor, she was like a PA. She was so dismissive and so cold and was like wanting me to shut up. She was like, oh my God, because I was just sobbing. I was so upset. I was so anxious, and I didn't know what was going on, or if it was normal, or if it was okay. Like, is this how it's supposed to happen kind of thing? Nobody walked me through it.
Yeah.
And Josiah's sitting next to me helpless, and he's also angry. He gets very quiet when he's angry.
He's angry like at the staff, or just
He
at
was
even
just angry at the situation, and then also he was angry at this doctor because she was being a bitch,
yeah.
for lack of a better term. She needed me to get out of her ER because I'm not dying. And I get it, like if they need the bed for someone who is dying, but the ER was a ghost town. So like she needed to calm down.
Yeah.
And she was like, just give her some Ativan and get her out of here. And Ativan is an anti-anxiety med. And honestly, bless, thank you for that, because I needed it. But
That's so rude to overhear that when you're processing this
right in
trauma,
front of me,
actively happening.
and and then she like walked up and she like the nurse gave it to me. She was like, how many pads an hour is she bleeding through? Like, she's not asking me any questions.
Yeah.
She's asking the nurse. They had switched me rooms like 3 times, and this nurse was like a new nurse who had no idea. I was like, she hasn't checked my pad. Why don't you ask me? And I was like, I'm not soaking through
Yeah.
and stuff like I'm anymore. Like I'm bleeding, like it's very heavy, but
Yeah.
there's like clots in it. I don't know if that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't even look at me. So I was like, ugh, it was just such a traumatic experience. And now as a nurse, I look back on that and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it was so angering. So anyways, that was trauma.
Mhm.
And I went home and I took an Oxy. I think she gave me Oxy because I was in so much pain. Or no, it was Norco. It was like it was stronger than Tylenol.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like a narcotic, but it wasn't like crazy.
Yeah.
So it was like Norco. But I am very sensitive to pills of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I thought I was overdosing. So Josiah had to like calm me down. And he was like, you're fine. And I was like, I think we got to go back to the hospital.
Oh no. That doctor would fucking lose it.
He was like, we are not going back there. He's like, here's some chips. You need to eat something. And so I remember I watched The Holiday.
Oh, a Cameron Diaz classic.
Yes. Get you through your trauma. We'll talk about trauma movies during birth in a little bit. But yeah, and I just like laid on the couch and cried for a long time. And then the next week on Tuesday, I had to go to nursing school and act like, and I got there and people were like, are you still pregnant? Like, how did it end up? Because like, it was my friends in nursing school kind of knew the situation.
Yeah.
But I remember I had told the teacher, like, I have to go. Like, I'm having a miscarriage. Like, I need to leave. Like, I can't stay here when we were on their break. And she was like, that's totally fine. And then she asked me in front of the entire class if I lost the baby.
Oh my God.
And I was like, yes, like I did. And she was like, did you bleed a lot? Did they have to do a D&C, which is a type of abortion, but it's just a type of procedure where they clean out your uterus, basically.
Yeah.
And they have to do that for some miscarriages if your body doesn't get it all out.
Right.
And so she's like asking me these like invasive questions.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And I was just like
Like it's like a medical.
yeah, she was like going into nurse mode of like, it's a medical, like she wanted me to like, I don't know.
Yeah, but also as somebody like in healthcare, you shouldn't be asking people about really private medical things in front of other people.
Ridiculous.
Like,
Yeah.
So anyways,
baseline what you don't do.
yep, I was just like, so I just gave her like 1-word answers until she went away because I didn't know what else to do, because you know me, like if anybody does know me, once I get riled, people are probably getting sassed.
You should probably run.
I have been known to sass someone a time or two, and I did not want to fail that class. So I kept my yapper shut. But yeah, that was my first experience with pregnancy, and it was so traumatic. And I remember I just needed my girls, and I went to Rachel's apartment, and all of the girls, it was, Rachel, Megan, Sabrina, and Alexis. That was like our girl gang. And I showed up and just cried and then made a lot of really dark jokes.
We sure did.
We played some games.
Perfect for this podcast.
I know. I do cope with humor. There were some dead baby jokes
There
going
was
on.
for sure some like dead fetus, dead baby.
We're making Megan very uncomfortable.
Was I?
Yeah. You were refusing to partake.
You were literally like, you and Alexis were like, I am not making jokes about this, Taylor.
And Taylor and I were like, yeah, let's go.
And I was like, there is a man on the side of the house.
I think it's like the Airbnb or something, but yeah, a man just walked by.
Oh.
Get out of here, no men allowed.
We're talking about miscarriages.
I think I was too sensitive or sad, and I'm darker now.
Now that you've had a little more trauma,
I think I would absolutely make dead baby jokes now.
you were a lot more politically correct back then.
Yeah.
I was.
And now I think you're more loosey-goosey with your...
A little more loosey-goosey while still in
Not
my
with your
heart
morals.
politically correct.
Yeah, like with your morals. She's morally loose. No, she's not. But yeah, we made a lot of jokes. We laughed, we cried.
I think we had fondue.
We had fondue. Fondue
We processed
heals the soul.
with dark humor and cheese
As one does.
and chocolate. Because it was chocolate fondue that we did.
Oh yes, there was also chocolate fondue.
dark humor and chocolate.
And yeah, and then my husband and I got back at it.
You got right back on the horse.
I was like, you know what? Try again. If it doesn't work the first time, do it again.
How long did it take to kind of feel?
1 more month. Oh,
Okay.
to feel normal?
Yeah,
I
well,
still do not.
Sure. To feel like I want to start trying again.
Oh, I immediately.
Okay.
But I am also someone who like I can't let shit go. Like,
Yeah.
I am ready.
Yeah.
I'm very a determined person, and I'm like someone who's like, if I want something,
yeah.
your girl's gonna get it. You know what I mean?
Same.
I remember like Josiah wanted to wait to get married. I had to literally stop talking about it, and it was like he wanted to wait, and we were right to wait.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to get married at 20.
No.
Or 21 or 22. It took me a little bit to grow up, but I knew I wanted to marry him. And I was like, he's the one. And so there was a lot of women who probably wouldn't wait 7 years. 6, he proposed at 6, but then thank you, COVID. And my wedding venue burning down. Again, another podcast. Another podcast episode. But yeah, I was ready to get back at it, and I was like, we are gonna have a freaking baby.
You already put your mind to it, and you're like, I was like, get in here.
So I was literally ready to get back at it right away because I was like, I will be pregnant. And we did get pregnant.
You really just put your fucking mind to it.
Yes, I remember going to Rachel's Halloween party, drinking way too much tequila because I was not pregnant. Oh, it was Sabrina's. Why do I think everything's yours? No, Sabrina's Halloween party. I drank tequila and wine and I got very sick.
That's when you were Bob Ross.
Josiah was Bob Ross and I was his painting.
And we spilled wine. Well, I spilled wine all over you.
It was a glorious time.
I got so drunk that party too.
She definitely threw up in a plastic bag that night.
Oh yeah.
As you should.
Half this podcast is us talking about being degenerate.
Should I have been sober for the last 8 years?
That's another podcast episode. But I went home. I woke up the next day and I felt just sick, but not like hungover sick.
Ruh-roh.
Oh. And then I took a pregnancy test and it was negative. But here's a little tidbit for you girlies. You need to wait the full 3 minutes before you look at the thing.
Really?
If you're pregnant and it's early, it might not load until the very last
Loading.
Yeah, I say loading. It might not show up. So it was negative within, I think I waited 30 seconds or something. I was looking at it and I was like, there's no line there. And I threw it away. And then I went and sat on the couch and I was like, I'm not pregnant. And then something in me was like, go look at that test again. And I just feel like Jesus was telling me,
Yeah.
get in there.
So just like Joe got in you.
So I went and looked at the pregnancy test in the trash, and there was like a faint line, like a second faint line. And if there's even a faint line, it's a positive. A little bit of pregnancy test lore for you. So I ran into the garage. There was no cute announcement this time. I was so anxious. And I was like, I ran in the garage. Josiah's working out as he does every day. We know this. And basically, I ran in the garage and was like already crying. And I was like, is it fucking real? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Like freaking out. And Josiah's like, yes, you are insane. We know this. But he looked at it and he's like, yeah, I see a line. And he's just like a calm Hindu cow, let's be honest. Like, my husband is not like one to freak out. That's my job. And
Calm Hindu cow.
Yes. Calm as a Hindu cow. And so then I was pregnant again. And
Wow.
And it was like only a couple weeks after your miscarriage.
oh no, I literally got pregnant. I ovulated 2 weeks after I was done bleeding, after my miscarriage was like done.
Yeah.
And then pregnant.
I remember it was like so whiplash for us too, because we were like, you know, sensitive to your miscarriage and whatever.
And I'm like, I'm pregnant,
and
bitch.
you were so excited because you had initially bought these wine glasses that said Auntie's favorite sippy cup, and you were so excited to give them to us, but you hadn't yet.
Yeah.
And then we have this trip planned to Big Bear 2 weeks after your miscarriage, and you come in the door and you're like, I have a gift for you, and you give it to us, and we're like, is this a sick fucking joke?
Are we still in the dark humor stage?
Yeah, we might have taken it a little too far this time. And then you're like, no, I'm pregnant. And it was literally like,
You were like,
2
what?
weeks. Yeah. It was weird. Yeah, it was very
Aunt
shocking.
of your dead fetus? And we were like,
Oh my God.
And I remember that trip was so a little bit miserable for me because I not in a way like it's hard to be the only sober person.
Yeah.
And
Because we're drunk all the time.
they're degenerates.
We're drunk now.
They are drunk off their power.
Taylor can be a degenerate too.
I can.
You're a degenerate by nature.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You just don't jaywalk.
I do not jaywalk. Do not jaywalk. That is my parenting advice.
Divorced at the Big Bear trip? Was I separated?
No.
You were fully married.
Fully invested in your marriage.
And
Life is a blur.
I was sick. That was I started to feel nauseous at that time.
I remember that.
And I was like, I'm sober. I am nauseous. I am tired.
Yeah.
Like I was not like girls trip. I was like, I am here.
Well, I haven't spent a lot of time around pregnant Taylor at this point.
She's not fun. I'll tell you that.
That was the conversations yesterday when we were on the boat and everything. Your friends were like, yeah, pregnant Taylor just
Not fun.
Sucks ass.
Apparently. When I'm pregnant, I am tired.
Yeah.
So when I was pregnant with Ezra, that's my oldest, he made me sick. I had hyperemesis gravidarum. I think that's how you pronounce it. It means that
Spell
you
it, I
throw
dare you.
up HYPEREMESIS space GRAVIDERUM.
Hey.
I believe.
whoa.
I believe that's how you spell it.
I'm a believer.
Shout out to Justin Bieber, who is also about to be a parent. You should listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I threw up everything under the sun. Anything that went into my body soon came back out.
Sure.
Water.
Just like Rachel after Thunder Down Under.
Yes. I was Rachel after Thunder Down Under, but pregnant. Basically, I had to get on some medication. I threw up the first 20 weeks of that pregnancy. That's halfway. You usually only throw up like the first like 8 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a rough time. At one point, I was at Josiah's mom's house. We were at my in-laws for Christmas. The entire family's in the living room. I barely make it to the front bathroom to throw up my dinner. And I the way the toilet is positioned, it's right. Like you have to like walk in, close the door, and then you can sit on the toilet. I did not get to close the door. I threw up in front of the entire family, just retching. It's coming out of my nose. I'm sobbing because I also have like a big fear of throwing up because I think I'm going to like aspirate and die whenever I do.
Oh,
Funny enough. And
it's hilarious.
it's so funny. Josiah just like stood in the doorway body blocking because he couldn't get the door shut to like try to give me some semblance of privacy.
That's actually really sweet.
He's very sweet. And yeah.
It's the sweetest Hindu cow.
The sweetest little Hindu cow of mine. So yeah, the first 20 weeks were a little bit rough and I like lost 12 pounds.
Which is crazy when you're growing a baby too.
It is. And he's just sucking the life out of you.
Yeah.
But
a little dementor
there was
that you're
like
growing
such
inside of you.
That's what they are. They're the sweetest
Soul
little
sucking.
parasites.
Yeah.
But there was such an element of anxiety. So I really feel like the throwing up also like brought me comfort because it's a sign of a healthy pregnancy. And I was so traumatized by my miscarriage that I was so anxious during my pregnancy with Ezra that something was going to go wrong. And we also moved to Idaho while I was pregnant. I graduated nursing school while I was pregnant.
You sure did.
Shout out to the last semester of nursing school that I don't really remember because I was on so much Unisom for my nausea, which is a sleeping pill. We powered through. I passed the NCLEX.
Hell
You
yeah.
crushed.
Yes. But yeah, we moved states. We moved from California to Idaho. I started a new job as a nurse on an oncology floor, which is intense. And
What does oncology mean?
oh, I'm sorry, it's
Cancer.
cancer
For the
patients.
dummies, I knew that. I just
For the Megans of the world. Right, did you? For the Megans of the world. Oncology. No, oncology is cancer. Sorry. It was oncology, nephrology, and end of life care. So oncology is cancer, nephrology is kidney. So it was dialysis patients and cancer patients and then terminal patients. And so it was really intense. And they started me on day shift because I begged them because I was pregnant. I was like, please don't make me do nights. But yeah, and then the moved to Idaho. It was just a lot of life changes. There was so much anxiety going through. Shout out to my therapist during that time. She was great at like helping me process things. Go to therapy. But yeah, my mom came to live with us for like 7 months because I was just like huge. Ezra was 9 pounds.
You were really pregnant.
I was so pregnant. And my husband had just started a new job that was really intense. He's like a software engineer. He does network security and like static analysis. And so it was just like crazy. 4 cats. Shout out to my cat ladies. I feel like I say shout out too much.
No, not enough. We love shout outs.
Yep.
But yeah, so pregnancy flew by and then July of 2022 came and I hit that 40 weeks and was like, you are going to get this baby out of me now. And my midwife was like, bet. And we went in for an induction. And a lot of people want to go into labor naturally. That is not my journey and not my ministry.
Not my journey.
No.
Drugs are your journey.
Yes. I make big babies.
You make giant babies.
My first baby was 9 pounds. My second baby was 10 and a half.
Can you give the dummies who might not know what the average baby size
The
is?
Megans of the world.
The Megans of the world. I think average babies are like maybe like 6 to 8 pounds.
Okay.
So I would say 7.5 is like the big end of normal.
7.5 is the big end of normal.
Yes. My baby measured at 7.5 pounds at 36 weeks. So that's a month before I gave birth. And just
How the hell do they weigh a baby when it's inside you?
they measure its head circumference and its like chest in an ultrasound.
Got it.
And then they do these like calculations and give you like an estimate.
Got it.
Now that estimate can be a pound up or a pound down, which is a lot in terms of babies being huge.
Yeah.
So Ezra measured at 7.5. Seth also measured at 7.6. So at 36 weeks. So I still had a month to go. And in the last month of pregnancy, your baby can gain a half pound a week.
Whoa.
which mine did. Or more like a pound, some of them. One of them. But basically, yeah, huge baby. So I got induced at 40 weeks with Ezra. It was a wild time, and that was not the birth that Megan sent me the pep talk video. That was Seth. But the inductions are crazy, and it worked for us. It's not for everyone. A lot of people like to wait and go into labor naturally. I would love to do that, but I would end up being a C-section because my babies are too big for
Yeah.
You
for
would be
that.
pushing out full-grown men.
Yeah. and Ezra was comfy in there. Okay. That kid did not want to come out, and he is stubborn. So when you go in for an induction, it's kind of nice in my opinion because you know what's going to happen, and you're not breathing through contractions while you drive to the hospital. Like, you go in, you bring all your stuff, they show you to your room, and you get all nice and comfy. They put an IV in you. And then she kind of like goes through the paperwork portion, and then they, start with medication. For me, they did a cervical ripening agent. Basically your cervix is like picture a donut, and it has to completely like thin, which is what effacement is. So it's thick because it's keeping the baby, and it's thick and it's closed. So if you picture a donut that's really like,
Thick.
like a fat donut,
Yeah.
but the hole is completely shut in the middle.
Yeah.
That is what a cervix like normally is.
Like a butthole.
Yes, but sure. Okay.
We've made it to the portion of the podcast where Nurse Taylor teaches us about giving birth. Teaches the Megans of the world.
I don't know a single damn thing.
This will be good birth control for a lot of people out there. So
Back to the donut.
they do a cervical ripening agent, which is a pill that they insert into your vagina up.
Into the cervix.
They put it on the cervix, yeah. And then it basically helps it to thin. So it's not helping it open. It's helping it thin out. So it's preparing to go into labor.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you go into labor. So they did that. And then we went in at like 9 p.m. So then I didn't sleep all night because it causes you to basically have period cramps that are just uncomfortable enough that you can't sleep. But it's not like painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so waited until 6 a.m. the next morning, and then they check your cervix again. And I was effaced enough to start the Pitocin. Pitocin is like a synthetic oxytocin, which is the hormone that makes you like contract and go into labor and dilate your cervix and get that baby out.
Does dilate mean it just like opens up really big? Okay.
So,
Do they put an IUD in your cervix?
yes, but not during
For
my journey.
birth control.
Yeah.
No, I know. All of a sudden, I'm just like, am I thinking of the right?
Yes, the right cervix. You only got one.
Because that was painful as fuck.
Yeah, so they probably dilated your cervix a little bit to get it in there.
Ew. Yeah. Okay.
Which they should have explained to you during informed consent, but it looks like you just went with it. That's fine.
I'm just asking the questions.
If you are a medical professional, please explain your procedures to your patients,
Especially Megan's.
especially
The
Megan.
Megans of the world don't know what the hell a cervix is.
So they started the Pitocin
I didn't
on
know it was
me
like a donut though.
with Ezra. Yeah, well, I mean that's just like for lack of a better term. It's
No, I love
it's
it.
circular.
Yeah.
We need the visuals.
What kind of donut is your cervix?
I would like to say, well, I'm not going to say that.
What were you gonna say?
That is a podcast for another time.
Wait, donut. The people are dying to know what
I
kind
don't
of
know
donut
why
you
I
were going to
almost
say.
said cream filled. Oh my god, my husband's gonna disown me. He's like, don't embarrass me up there.
My brain went like sprinkle donut. Cream filled is the best answer. I
don't.
You had to make that big baby somehow.
Back to the Pitocin. My mother-in-law is going to listen to this. I'm sure my mom is. Okay.
I'm dead.
So they
What kind of donut is your cervix?
That's a fun game to play.
It's a fun game.
oh my god. So they started the Pitocin on me, and that causes you to like go into labor and start the contractions. So I'm breathing through that. It's painful, but it's like it's doable for me. And then they come in, and my midwife wants to break my water. Mm-hmm. Some people are against it. Good for you. I was like, break the water. Some people don't like medical interventions with birth, and that's fine. Do you?
That's your journey.
For me, let's get this boy out of my body. Yeah. I don't really
Your
care.
donut, your choice, bitch.
Yeah. Exactly. So the only thing is that I didn't have an epidural yet. Mm-hmm. And so she broke my water, and his cord actually tried to come out, which is a big emergency if that happens, because it cuts off oxygen to the baby. It's immediately like an emergency C-section to save the baby's life if the cord prolapses, which means comes out before the baby does.
Is the water like is it like in?
It's in a
past
sac.
The cervix.
Yeah, it's up
like
in your uterus, and it's like an amniotic sac. Uh-huh. So what they do is they have this thing that looks like a really long crochet hook. Oh my God. And this sounds so brutal. It wasn't painful for her to put that in. Yeah, and usually breaking your water isn't painful. Yeah. It's just that because his cord tried to come out, my midwife is wonderful. Mm-hmm. And she's very quick thinking, and she was able to push the cord back up and guide his head down. Whoa. So that there was no emergency issues, and he was good. And like, because she had to do that, it was very painful because I did not have an epidural.
Ow, yeah.
Ow, ow, ow.
Ow, 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 ow.
A chorus of ows.
A chorus of ows resounded. And then I was like, one epidural, please. And so
I'd like.
After your water breaks, your cushion is gone for your contractions. Contractions are way more painful after your water breaks, and Pitocin makes your contractions really intense compared to just like natural ones, because it's like a synthetic hormone that's like you contract harder is what I've
trying to speed it along.
It's going. So I was like, one epidural, please. The man came in, the anesthesiologist, to give me an epidural, and I told him that whoever invented the epidural is up in heaven with all the angels. He's got whatever religion you believe, 72 virgins, whatever.
A mansion.
He deserves it because, or the woman.
His Barbie dream
but it
house.
Was,
God, we would hope it's a woman, but
it's
I don't
not.
think
It was a man. He told me the history of it, and also the anesthesiologist was Canadian, and so he was like saying like oot in a boot, and he had this like accent that was very soothing for some reason.
We're gonna put this epidural oot in your boot.
In your cooter.
And so he did the epidural.
So that's also like a massive needle, right?
It is, but I mean, they do lidocaine in your back. You don't see it.
Oh, okay.
Josiah sat in front of me and held my hands, and I hugged a pillow, but the contractions were so intense at this point, you could have stabbed me in the leg and I would not have noticed.
Got it.
I literally didn't notice the epidural until I was a paraplegic. Like, it was a very dense epidural. So epidurals, basically they put medication into the epidural space of your back. So it's like before your spine. It's not in your spine, but it's in the epidural space. And it's like medication that falls into that epidural space and then causes kind of like numbness.
Yeah.
Some of them are really dense, and mine was for Ezra. So basically, like, I couldn't move my legs. Couldn't feel them. And guess what? Loved it. Loved every second of it.
Yeah.
Some people hate that feeling. I just was so happy to not be in pain.
Yeah.
So I took a nappy.
Wow.
And then I watched How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Because you still had to wait for it to...
Yep, I still wasn't fully dilated. I think I was at like a 5 or a 6 at that point.
Okay.
And then it got intense because I was ready to push, and I had never pushed out a baby before. Average push time for a first-time mom is actually 4 hours.
Okay.
Which is how long it took me to push out Ezra.
Wow.
And so if you are one of those ladies who's like counted their pushes and pushes, like, oh, it only took me 3 pushes. Screw you. Bless you.
Bless you, but
not me. I pushed for 4 hours, and Ezra came out in a complicated position. That's a
lot of that's a long time.
Dude, it was the biggest workout of my life. Like, if you think of the biggest CrossFit workout you could ever do.
Yeah.
More than that. I threw up during it because it was like the contractions are so intense. I was just cussing a lot.
Yeah.
At one point I was just like delirious. She lowered a mirror so I could see my vagina.
Oh, I wouldn't want to see
Well,
that.
I guess it helps you push. And at first she was like, do you want me to lower the mirror? And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And she asked Josiah if he wanted to like come around and get a view because his head was coming out. This was at the end. And Josiah was like, no, thank you. And I was like grabbing it. I was like, you stay up here.
Yeah.
You can't unsee it.
Josiah was like putting ice chips in my mouth in between pushes. And like we had a fan and he was like fanning my face. But then I would get mad at him because like my hair was like overstimulating me.
Yeah.
I was so sweaty. But yeah, at one point she had lowered the mirror and she had like there's a lot of fluids coming out of you at this time.
Yes.
She had like a wipe and it was kind of like on my vagina, kind of hanging down. And I like was deliriously looking at this wipe and I was like, is that my butthole? Because I had been pushing so long and like it was so like painful that I was like, I blew my butthole out. In my head, that was what was happening. And I was like, I prolapsed my rectum. Goodbye butthole, or hello butthole, hello inside of it. And she was like, what? Like she looked at me like, what? My midwife was so confused. And I was like, is that my butthole? And Josiah looked at me and he's like, your butthole? Like the word butthole was said in that room so many times. And she looked at what I was looking at and I was like, is that my butthole? And I'm getting frantic. I'm getting panicky. I'm literally, is that my butthole? Is that my butthole? And then she stopped and she said, oh, honey, that's a wipe. And everyone starts laughing so hard. And my head goes back and I'm like, oh, thank God. I thought that was my butthole. And she's laughing literally so hard. And she's like, no, that is a wipe. The wipe had like fluids on it. Like it was not like white. It was like flesh colored. Like I really thought it was a butthole. It had blood on it.
Jeez.
I was also delirious. I had not slept in 2 days at this point. They induced me.
The fact that nobody was responding to
They all didn't know what I was talking about.
You can't make it more clear.
I can't touch it. I couldn't reach
How
it.
can I make this question more clear? Please, someone tell me.
That's my butthole. B-U-T-T.
Yes or no.
God. And
Oh my God.
Ezra came out with his elbow up. So he tore my vaginal canal all the way down.
Oh, good.
And then a 2nd-degree tear on the way out.
Oh.
Shout out to my midwife because she had this mineral oil stuff that she put all over like my perineal area, which helped me.
Shout out to my butthole.
Yeah, shout out to my butthole. It survived. I did not blow it out on either birth. But yeah, it was like he came out. He was so swollen and he wasn't crying. And they put him on my chest and he was fine.
Yeah.
He was breathing, but I was delirious. And he came out. And when infants come out, a lot of times they are they're a little blue, depending on how long you've had to push them out, like different things. They do something called an APGAR score when they first come out and then 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
And it's basically like how responsive they are kind of thing. His were fine. And Taylor, being delirious, had not slept for 2 days. He wasn't crying. And so I flipped the fuck out.
Yeah.
And I just grabbed the sheet that they kind of wrapped him in to set him on my chest.
The butthole sheet.
No, a different sheet.
The baby sheet.
The baby sheet.
There's a baby sheet and there's a butthole sheet.
It was a clean sheet. And I just start whelping him like a puppy. And I'm like rubbing his back like, "Arr."
Like, wake up. Like,
Well, I'm like, why isn't he crying? Why isn't he crying? Like, and I'm
yeah.
like freaking out. And the nurse who's like there with him, she's like, oh, it's okay. That's your baby. Be gentle with him. She's like, okay, yep, he's fine. Like, you don't have to do that. Like, don't hit him kind of thing. And I'm not like trying to hit him, but I'm like rubbing on him.
Yeah.
And then he starts crying because I pissed him off.
we were like, well, thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then he did not stop crying for 3 months. Yeah.
That's your baby. You want to be gentle.
Please stop it.
Yeah.
So he was 9 pounds. He was huge. He was a chunker. We were so tired. And then he only slept like a half hour at a time for the first like 3 months.
Oh my God.
And then after that, I had to go back to work.
Yeah.
Shout out to America for having shitty maternity leave.
How long were you on maternity leave?
For 12 weeks.
Okay.
And then, so by 12 weeks, you barely are like figuring out which way is up.
Yeah.
And I had to go back on night shift.
Oh my God.
So then Joe's up all night feeding him.
Yeah.
And I'm at the hospital pumping.
Yeah.
And Ezra had so many feeding issues. Breastfeeding was terrible for me. He had a tongue tie, a lip tie. He had jaw instability, just a bunch of like feeding issues.
Same.
I think you have too much jaw stability.
I'm gonna get that fixed in a couple days.
So breastfeeding was just like an anxious thing. It was just like a fight the entire time. And when I finally stopped at 4.5 months, because I exclusively pumped the last 4 months because he couldn't latch, like it was so relieving. Seth has been the opposite, where breastfeeding has been like a great journey.
That's kind of nice. It's like,
it was healing.
yeah.
It was really healing to have a good experience after my really shitty experience with Ezra. And I was looking at Ezra one night. He wouldn't latch. I was having to pump. And I was like, I'm starting to like resent my baby for not doing his job when it's not his fault. He can't do it.
Yeah.
And like, I'm trying to force this thing because everyone tells you that breastfeeding should be natural, that, you know, it's better for them. You need to do breast milk, that all of that bullshit. And I get it. Like, if you can breastfeed, great.
But you don't want to be made feel like you're a bad mom or guilty or something's wrong if you aren't able to breastfeed.
You have to make the best decision. It wrecked my mental health. And you have to make the best decision for your family, and your mental health is part of that family. Like, you are part of the family. And I think so many moms don't think of themselves. It's all like sacrifice. You know, we sacrifice our bodies. We sacrifice our mental health. We sacrifice warm dinners. I didn't eat a warm dinner. I mean, Josiah made sure I had warm food, but like you're taking care of everybody else's needs before yourself, because that is just like the mode you go in when you become a mom. And you feel like if you don't, there's this guilt that lays on you. Mom guilt is so real. And then you look on social media and there's all these like mom influencers who are so aesthetic and skinny, and they look like their tits look like they've never had a baby. Like, and they're feeding these children these homemade bento boxes or some shit. It's all fake. And if anybody tells you that they have it all figured out with parenting, they're trying to sell you something. It's not. Nobody has it all figured out. And with breastfeeding, if it's taking a toll on your mental health and you are dreading it, having super amounts of anxiety over it, give the kid some formula, bond with him that way over a bottle, and like know that like if your baby is fed, he's healthy, or she, I have boys, so I'm going to say he, you know, gaining weight, like that's what matters. You're interacting, you have an attachment with your baby, like that's what matters. It's not, did he get this much breast milk, you know? Sure, if you can give it, that's great. Formula, they're all going to be eating Cheetos off the floor of your minivan in 5 years anyways. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's great.
I also got induced with Seth. I got induced at 39 weeks instead of 40 because of how big Ezra was. The induction went much the same with the cervical ripening, Pitocin, all of that. I got the epidural before she broke my water this time.
Smart.
Shout out. Loved it. My epidural was really light that time, the second time.
Okay. So you could feel your legs?
I pushed standing up for a while.
Whoa.
Which was very tiring.
Badass.
And then I found a position that worked for me. I pushed for 3 hours with Seth. He kept his arms inside the vehicle this time.
Because he's a little rule follower.
He is. He's a very mellow baby. Ezra is like, he was born just, you know, filled with rage. He is feisty and goofy, and he does not give a shit about what anybody thinks. Seth is so mellow. He doesn't want to bother anyone. He was a good sleeper from the jump. Thank God. I needed one.
Seth's like, you need this, Mom. You've been through a lot.
Like, I love your boobies. Like, I will sleep for you. He's like, I don't want to bother you. I'm very chunky. Seth was 10.5 pounds, though, so I still tore.
That's such a big baby.
And his shoulder almost got stuck in my pelvis. So my midwife
God.
did have to reach in and turn him, like, to help him get out.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, as she should, we don't need that kind of emergency in our lives.
No.
And
You don't need a shoulder stuck in your pelvis.
I bled a lot more with Seth because he was so big. And like my postpartum nurses with Ezra were amazing. With Seth, the first nurse I had, she didn't help me like change my pad. I couldn't put all of my weight on one foot because I was in so much pain. Because of the way I had to push him out, I basically had to pull my ankles to my ears.
Wow.
And I am not that flexible. But we got it done. And so I pulled all of the muscles in my groin and in my back. And so I like could barely walk. And my first postpartum nurse, she didn't help me. And she was really nice, but like, I don't know, she was just like focused on her charting or something, but she wasn't really that helpful. And then I got blood all over the bathroom, and I was just like really like exhausted and emotional.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like I got blood on the bathroom like floor and on the toilet. And she was like, oh, well, the sandy wipes are right there. And then she left the room. And I was like, so I went and cleaned the bathroom. And if you're asking where's Josiah during all this, he was taking care of the baby.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can do it if just give me a minute. Like he's very helpful.
Yeah.
And that is one thing I will say to tie in. When you choose your husband, you choose the father of your children. And so that is something you need to look at. Like if you're looking at your partner and they're selfish and they don't put you first and they are not responsible or, you know, kind, I don't know, compassionate people, like
considerate.
That's
People.
a good word. Yes. It's amplified when you have a baby. Having a baby puts stress on your relationship. It does not fix anything. If you have problems, they are amplified by the baby because you are sleep deprived.
Yeah.
If you have a husband who's not going to wake up in the middle of the night with you with the baby, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like you need help. You need help during that time because you're also healing. You have a dinner plate sized wound in your body after you have a baby because your placenta creates that when it comes out. So you are healing and you have to rest. And especially if you're breastfeeding, like that takes more out of your body and your hormones. The hormone drop after having a baby is insane. I cried for literally like 7 days straight. Like everything made me cry. And it's just, you're just sobbing and you don't even have a reason. And it's just, the hormones are crazy. So if you don't have a helpful partner, it makes it that much harder. Especially like now we're doing 2 under 2. Well, Ezra just turned 2, so 2 and under, I guess.
Yeah.
But when Seth was first born and Josiah wasn't even able to, he took 1 day off of work because he got a new job right before I had the baby.
Yeah.
So it was like so hard, but he still was like getting up, you know?
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, go sleep in the office. And then my mom came upstairs because she was staying with us. And she got up in the middle of the night with the baby with me because Josiah like needed to get a good stretch of sleep so that he could do his job and chase our toddler. Because I couldn't even walk very well. So, and Ezra is a high energy kid, as I have said.
As I've learned this weekend.
Yes. Ezra loves Megan, but he did kiss Rachel. So
Some stiff competition.
but yeah, like when you choose your partner, when you choose your husband or your wife, whatever,
Yeah.
floats your boat. But
If you're planning on having kids.
if you're planning on having kids, look at your partner.
Yeah.
Because yeah, if they're like a selfish person, I mean, that was like my biggest concern when you were with the wolf was just if he can't stay faithful to you for 6 hours, what are you going to do when you have a baby with him and you don't have sex for months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing about him that was so whack too, is like he was very generous. He was very considerate of me and did put me first and did like he was so good with kids, and that's why it was like it's so twisted too. But yeah, like if I had kids and couldn't have sex for a few months, like they're, I don't know.
And it's more like, I mean, some
sinister.
people get right back at it.
Good for you.
Good
if
for
that's
you
your journey.
if that's your journey. Yeah. That's my pelvic floor is rough.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend if you have a baby going and getting like pelvic floor physical therapy. It has helped me immensely. Just pain during sex, all the things, scarring, you don't even know, like all the things, just deep core work that you need to do to get your body to feel a little bit normal again. I couldn't sleep on my side for months because my pelvis was in so much pain after having Seth because he was so big. So there's just like a lot that goes into having a baby, and you know, the 2 under 2 being, I wasn't even able to pick up Ezra for like 3-4 weeks after I had the baby. I couldn't lift him. I wasn't allowed to. And that is heart-wrenching when your toddler is like, mama, like, and is used to being held.
Yeah.
And I can't pick him up because he's like 34 pounds he's
a big boy.
As a 19-month-old. He's a big boy.
Do you want to talk about your experience with postpartum depression at all?
Yeah. So with Ezra, I had more postpartum anxiety. And at one point I was like having these heart palpitations, and it was like I couldn't sleep because I was so anxious, but I was anxious because I wasn't sleeping. And people were offering to take the baby. Like I had all the help in the world, and I was allowing the help too, but I would lay in bed and be like, someone's going to drop him down the stairs, or what if someone comes in to steal him, or just like you get these intrusive thoughts, and that is part of postpartum anxiety and depression. I got on medication. Shout out to Zoloft.
At the end of this, I'm going to do a compilation of all the times we said shout out. Okay. It's going to be the randomest shit. It's going to be like,
that should be real.
It's going to be funny. One time you were like, shout out to America.
More, okay. So, Zoloft really helped, and so did therapy. And then, you know, I finally just like started getting some more sleep, and that helped. But the Zoloft really, really improved things. And basically, with Seth, I had way more of the depression. I started Zoloft the day I gave birth. And you can actually start it in the 3rd trimester. I just didn't want to do that just because I was trying to take like little medications while pregnant, if that makes sense. That's just what I was comfortable with. Yeah. But my friend, she totally started in the 3rd trimester. It was fine. Yeah. But yeah, I started the day I gave birth on the Zoloft, and that helped. I didn't have nearly as much anxiety. I think also just like 2nd-time mom, it was just a lot more chill. Yeah. But I had a lot more of the depression, which hit like a couple weeks after the birth.
Was it like unfounded, or
what do you mean?
Like, where do you think it, like, what were you depressed about? Was it just like completely,
I didn't really have anything,
no reason why?
No. And I think that's part of postpartum depression, is like you're the happiest you've ever been,
right?
Like my life is so full, and it was so filled with joy, but sometimes like the baby would cry, and I would just have to like force myself to pick him up because I just was like staring off into space. Like I just felt like so far removed from everything. I had trouble feeling my feelings. And I just felt like so tired. And, you know, I mean, that's part of it, is lack of sleep. That's why I'm tired. But also I was like more than tired. I was just depressed. And it was like more, I was like numb, if that makes sense. Yeah. Which Zoloft can kind of numb your feelings sometimes. But I think mine was more like the depression portion. I got my labs checked, and it actually turns out that my vitamin D level was critically low. Oh. The baby was just sucking it out of me. Yeah. From breastfeeding. And below 70, I think, is you could have like mental health issues. Mine was 24. Oh. And so that was part of the depression. And so I started taking a ton of vitamin D. Yeah. And remembering to supplement my child with it so that he didn't need so much from me. And things slowly got better. I think I still am in it. Yeah. Like I still get that brain fog of like, you know, if I could give any advice to parents with like small children, get out of the house. It sucks. Like it's anxiety inducing. It's stressful to leave the house with 2 under 2, or just with kids in general, or with your first baby, whatever. But even going to the park or going on a walk, like get out of the house, get the sunshine on your face if you have it, and like do things as a family. And then it won't be so stressful the next time. Like it gets easier a little bit every time. And that's just like so important. And then also just like get a babysitter. Find your village, whoever that is. Like, we had to build a village here because we moved away from all our friends and family.
That's hard.
But we built a village, and then like get a babysitter and go on a date. You know, you guys don't have to go have sex, like, but just go connect and try really hard to talk about something other than the kids for like 10 minutes, you know? And then you can check on them.
Yeah.
But like my husband and I try to do that. And I mean, just getting out of the house is really helpful.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have Joe's mom and my mom visit a lot. And so that's been really great to have that support. But we also have like friends who have become our village. You know, my next door neighbor, her daughter is only 2 days younger than Ezra. And so like Ezra will go over there and play. And it's just really nice to have people who understand what season of life you're in and what you're going through. Find a mom group. You know, some of the mom groups on Facebook, they do be judgy. And people on there are stupid sometimes. Let's be honest. I'm like, you could have Googled that. You don't have to ask the question.
The Megans of the world.
Megans of the world. But like, find your people somewhere. You know, if you don't have a village, build one. That's what we did. And you don't have to spend a ton of money. Just get those little gremlins out of the house. Ezra's mood is improved so much when he gets out of the house.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. He is feral if he stays in the house for too long.
I mean, same. That's like good
You
advice.
get stir crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like any takeaways I have are really just never say never as a parent. And don't judge other parents because we're all just surviving. We're all doing our best. And then when you choose your partner, you're choosing the father of your children, and that matters. So like, think about that when your man is treating you like shit, because he's going to treat your kids like shit. Or he's going to treat you even shittier when you have kids with him.
Yeah.
Like, you having his baby is not going to change his character. And that is a big deal. It's going to enhance the good things and the bad things.
Yeah, your point earlier of like, you hear stories or know people who had a kid to fix the relationship, and your point of like, nope, it's gonna just put so much stress on any problems you did have are gonna be like totally
magnified.
Yeah,
your feelings are magnified. Your character flaws are magnified. Like, you don't do it. If you're having issues, go to therapy. Don't have a baby. And if you already have babies with somebody who is shitty, that is not a reason to stay with them. I do believe in like, you can fix marriages, and that marriage is like, should be like considered a permanent thing. But I also believe that like, you deserve to be happy, and you deserve for your children to grow up in a loving home versus a home where,
Or maybe it's
just
two loving
chaos.
homes.
Yeah,
You know?
maybe it's two loving
versus one chaotic one.
Yes. And I mean, yeah, chaos reigns, but but yeah, maybe it's two chaotic loving homes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just feel like, you know, choose your partner wisely, especially if you're planning to have children. And then, you know, every pregnancy, every kid, every birth is different. So like, my experience might not be yours, and that's fine. And if you had a lovely spiritual birth that, you know, didn't hurt, was one push, bless you. I'm not trying to scare anyone away from having a kid, but that was just my experience. And I'm going to do it again. Not for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do want a third kid.
They're all different. And I think also the way that you probably pictured it turned out to be different.
Oh, yeah.
I think you had it, you were like, I'm going to have it this way, and it's going to be like this, and it's going to look like this, and
Yes.
I'm going to be this kind of parent. And like, I've definitely seen you be different
Yes.
than what you said.
Well, and like, even having a birth plan, you have to be flexible. I think that just like parenthood, birth, pregnancy, all of that has been such a great reminder for me that like, God's in control. I'm not in control. And you never know what you're gonna get. And you have to go with it and be flexible. And it's just like ever changing. And yeah, your kids are gonna be different. You're gonna have to parent them differently. And it's okay to change your mind or go back on like, I'm never going to do that. Everyone's a perfect parent until they have a kid. That is a phrase that I've heard, and it's true. I was a perfect parent before I had a kid. And now I have Ezra, and he challenges me every freaking day. I never thought I'd deserve an award for not smacking my kid. Here I am. Where's my trophy? And, you know, it's like you can do what works for your family, and that's okay. And it might not be what works for mine or somebody else's. And yeah, again, if somebody is telling you they have it all figured out and you just need to follow their 15-step process, they're just trying to sell you something. Yeah, just figure out what works for your family. There's no magic potion and no guidebook.
Every cream-filled donut is different.
Every donut is different.
That's great advice and really refreshing, especially as we see so many perfect little families and moms and whatnot on TikTok, and it's just so not
Makes me sick.
it's not realistic.
And nobody's house is that clean. I'll tell
No.
you, if they have toddlers, it's destroyed.
No. Yeah.
Unless they have a maid, which shout out to you if you have a maid. Shout out to maids.
Shout out to maids. Shout out to donuts.
Shout out to house cleaners. If somebody wants to come clean my house, I will shout out them
Shout out to your butthole.
for making it. Shout out to my body for carrying 2 giant linebacker children.
Amen.
Shout out to you for not smacking your kids.
Shout out. Shout out to my husband for putting ice chips in my mouth during labor.
Shout out to Chippendales.
Shout out to my boobs for sustaining a baby.
Yeah.
And shout out to Formula for sustaining my other baby.
Okay, any other like final thoughts or anything from anybody?
Any final shout outs?
Final shout outs.
I can say something.
Yeah.
I think that for me, and I think for Megan and anyone that doesn't have children yet, I think it's good to hear about stories like these. And I think that it's been incredible to watch you become a mom. And we've all always known that you were made for it. But you're just such a natural, even though maybe it sometimes doesn't seem like it and you want to smack your kid. Yeah, I admire you a lot. And I think it's going to be really helpful for people who have kids and people who don't have kids and people who are maybe considering having kids, whatever stage of life you're in, to listen to these kinds of things and to hear your stories. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
1000%. We will have so many questions for you when Rachel and I get to that point.
Yeah.
I'll be like, Wait, Taylor, is this normal?
Yeah.
And I'll be like, it was normal for me.
Yeah.
I've learned that everything is pretty much normal until it's not. Kids are weird.
And so are we.
And so are we. And on that note.
And on that note, we close. Thanks for coming on. We love you.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Okay, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok to watch our shout out compilation from this episode at the.traumedy.show.
Bye.
Bye.
Bro, the way I chug cold brew.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you chugged your oatmeal.
I did chug my oatmeal. And look at this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you really.
That is going to...
I'm not a little bitch.
You know what? If you really wanted to poop, I should have gotten you regular milk.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I think that has the opposite effect.
I'm putting in this at the end of the episode, by the way.
Megan's constipation diaries.
Constipation corner.
I have been so constipated this entire weekend.
Megan has like 5 days of poop inside her.
Oh, wow.
It's literally like your colon knows that you're back in Idaho and it just clammed right up.
Yeah, like, nope, not here.
This is not our country.
No, my colon was like refusing. Like, I'm not moving back here. No.
Take
Have
me back
fun.
to LA. Where's my people?
What is it? Do you get sepsis when you can't poop?
It's
It's like, I'll give you sepsis.
That will take more than 5 days. But
Oh.
sepsis, it would be like if you got an obstruction and then a perforation of your bowel, which means like a hole in it, and then you would get an infection and then you could get sepsis. There are many steps in between.
On my way.
I think you're safe.
skirted sepsis this time.
But beware.